which has unfortunately gone waste.
In the National Security Yard behind the Accra International Conference Center, 350 vehicles procured by the Microfinance and Small Loan Center, MASLOC, are parked with some of the saloon cars completely covered with overgrown weeds. The vehicles are made up of 133-seater Isuzu buses, 100 Chevy Sparklight saloon cars, and 150 Chevy Aveo saloon cars. MASLOC procured these vehicles in 2016 for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, but the GPRTU rejected them. The Chief Executive Officer of MASLOC, Stephen Amwa, says the Transport Union rejected the vehicles because they are overpriced.
If you look at the prices and compare that to market averages, the prices were outrageous because those trotro buses and commercial vehicle drivers have their turnovers, the sales they make a day, and for that matter, any car they procure for that purpose should be able to work in that capacity and give them the sales they need to be able to break even.
Joy News, as part of this investigation, went to the supplier of the vehicles, Mac Autos and Spare Parts Ghana Limited, for quotations in August 2018, 2 years after the company sold the vehicles to MASLOC. We found that the 2016 prices of the vehicles are lower than the 2018 prices, but our investigation revealed that the cost at which the company sold the vehicles to MASLOC in 2016 is far higher than the cost at which it sold to the general public in 2018. For instance, Mac Ghana sold the 33-seater Isuzu bus to the general public in 2018 at $79,000, but sold to MASLOC in 2016 at $107,000, a difference of $28,000 per bus. The company sold the Chevy Sparklight saloon cars in 2018 at $9,000, but sold to MASLOC at $12,500. In 2018, Mac had stopped selling Chevy Aveo saloon cars, but an August 2017 invoice from the company, which Joy News obtained as part of this investigation, caused the price of each Chevy Aveo vehicle at $14,000. However, the company supplied each of the 150 vehicles to MASLOC at $18,000. In all, the cost of the vehicles sold to MASLOC is higher than the market price of the vehicles by at least $3,750,000 or 18,375,000 Ghana cedis. Joy News made several attempts to speak to the CEO of MASLOC, who signed the contract at the time, Sedina Tamaklo Atienu, but could not get her to comment. When Joy News wrote to Mac Ghana for a response, the company denied any wrongdoing. In a letter to Joy News, Mac Ghana said,
"The reasonable difference in prices of the vehicles sold to MASLOC and the prices sold to the general public was due to the fact that it was not paid upfront in cash, but over a period of 2 years. As such, an interest was put on the price, as is custom in car purchases."
Stephen Amwa believes the amount put on contracts in Ghana are generally too high.
I know all over the world, businesses, they have lobbying fee. So you might have thought of some small margin to manage the transactions that went on. Even American, they have lobbying fee. Whether it's wrong or right, I don't know. But a situation where, just by observation, amounts that are added, sometimes when you think about it, you ask yourself, so do we have mosques and churches in Ghana, like buildings? I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm not perfect, bro. I'm not an angel. But I think what is really destroying Ghana is corruption. There's nothing else. Whether NDC, CPP, we have good people who are learned. But why? It's corruption. Why? It's corruption.
Joy News investigation revealed more anomalies with this contract beyond the prices. We secured a record of all the vehicles imported by Mac Ghana from January 2016 to December 2017. We also secured details of all the vehicles cleared by the company for which duty was paid. When the details of the vehicles supplied to MASLOC were searched from the vehicles cleared, they were not found. Our checks with the Ghana Revenue Authority confirmed that the company did not pay duty on the vehicles it supplied to MASLOC. According to the GRA, duty on the 350 vehicles amounted to 10,500,000 Ghana cedis. Further investigations revealed that the Ministry of Finance had written to waive the duty for the company pending a parliamentary approval, which did not happen. Our investigation, however, revealed the company was not entitled to a duty waiver according to the terms of the contract. Article 32 of the contract states, and I quote, "A supplier shall be entirely responsible for all taxes, duties, licenses, fees, etc. incurred until the delivery of the contracted goods to the final destination," end of quote. GPRTU executive told Joy News the union had its own preference, but MASLOC insisted on MAC Ghana. Besides, MASLOC did not discuss the prices or sign any contract with them before importing the 350 vehicles. A procurement specialist, Kobina Atabedu, says government committed a series of anomalies in the transaction.
My understanding of this is that GPRTU said that they want government to assist them to acquire vehicles. GPRTU had their own preference of vehicles they want. So that is the specification. How come government decided that we are going to go to MAC and that is what we will give you? That is a red flag for me. Number two, why should it be a sole source or a single source? And where is the approval? Did they get PPA to do an approval for that single source? Now, if PPA did an approval for that single source, what kind of due diligence did they do before they decided to give them the approval? Because if I look at the analysis here, they quoted in cedi. The contract was given out in Ghana cedi. We have ended up paying in USD as against the contract. That itself is a flaw on government's part.
He also commented on the value of the vehicles.
When a vehicle drives out of the showroom, as soon as it comes out of the showroom, 20% of the vehicle has depreciated. It's gone. The value is gone. So if we are to sell those cars today, we will have lost money. Because by accounting standards, you can depreciate a car over a maximum of 5 years and a minimum of 3 years. So if we take the maximum, it means every year, 20% of the value of the car is gone. So as soon as the car drove out of the showroom, so if you buy a car today and you take it back the next day and say, I want my money back, they'll give you your money minus 20%. So we've put those cars there, dumped them in the sun.
Since 2016.
Since 2016. So 2016, 2017, 2018, now we are in 2019, 4 years. The value of those cars, book.
The fate of the vehicles is not known. What is known is that, irrespective of how the vehicles are disposed of, the state will have to sell them at a lower price than it bought them. For Joy News, Manasseh Azure Arena reporting.
And Manasseh is with us here in the studio. This is the Super Morning Show in Joy 99.7 FM. Also with us here is Professor Stephen Adair, who would also be adding his voice to this conversation. Manasseh, first of all, good morning, great work.
Thank you very much, Dan.
So give us the background to this investigation. What were we looking for? What did we find?
Okay. Dan, you know, sometimes the officials we put in charge of our resources are supposed to make good use of them. But there are times they spend the money in such a way that we are not happy. And we are talking about sometimes doing procurement and abandoning them. So last year, we decided to look at a few. We've done something on the schools. We've done something on hospitals. But I decided to put the focus on vehicles. We knew of those at the national local government in Medina, the Gallopers, and they've been there for close to 20 years now. We have the ambulances, we have the Ayalolo buses, and we also have these MASLOC ones. I ever visited someone at the National Security, and in the yard, I saw quite a number. That was very early 2017, and then in 2018, I saw them. So I started asking questions, and it came up. So we decided to track and find out exactly why they are there. And the allegations that were made about contract inflations and the rest, we took it upon ourselves to independently verify whether these vehicles were there because of the reason that was stated. And eventually that's what we were able to find.
So take us specifically to some of the findings. So this began with 350 vehicles in the MASLOC yard?
Yes. Our investigation revealed that in the Mahama regime, officials or executives of GPRTU visited the president and made an appeal that the vehicles they used were very bad, so they needed some form of support to be able to do high pitches to raise stock.
Okay.
The president said he could, or the government could help, which GPRTU said it was a very good idea, but the vehicle to do that was MASLOC. And what MASLOC does is to help them acquire, put a little percentage or interest on it so that they will pay over time, so they wouldn't feel it. Now, according to the GPRTU officials, what they told MASLOC was that, yes, we want you to do the facilitation, but we are already into this business, so we have dealers in these vehicles. So we want to get our partners to do the procurement or to supply the vehicles. You can do the procurement, but this is what we want. According to them, MASLOC said no. They had an arrangement with Mac Autopass Limited.
Okay.
And so the GPRT officials said they also went with another proposal that we are looking at 350 vehicles. If possible, let's divide it into two so that your suppliers, that's the preferred suppliers of MASLOC, would supply the first half, and then GPRTU's own suppliers would also supply the second half. GPRTU, according to, said, MASLOC again said no. And according to them, there was no discussion about the prices of these vehicles. As we speak, there is no contract between GPRTU and MASLOC. But MASLOC went and brought 350 vehicles made up of 100 buses and 250 saloon cars. MASLOC said, the GPRD told us that a few days to the election, the president went to inaugurate it. There was a lot of fanfare. And it was only after the election that they were called to come and then have a look at the transaction. That was when the price came up. That was when the specifics of or specifications of these vehicles came up, and they thought it was too much, because if they looked at the prices that were quoted, it was going to be extremely difficult for them to even break even, let alone make any profit from these vehicles. So they said, look, not that we are not interested in the vehicles, but the price at which you are giving it to us is just too much. So we decided to go and then verify ourselves. So we went to secure pro forma invoices from the company that did the supply, Mac Ghana. They are on the Spintex Road. So what we realized was that the 2016 prices quoted by the company for the same vehicles were lower than the 2018 vehicle. We started the investigation in 2018.
Okay.
But we wanted to be on the lower side, at least. So we decided to go to this company and take pro forma invoices for 2018.
No, so you said the 2016 price is lower than 2018?
2018. That's because...
no, isn't that expected?
Yeah, it's expected. That is it. That is a norm. But I'm driving at something.
Okay.
We even decided to take the 2018 prices and compare it with the 2016 prices they sold to MASLOC.
Okay.
Okay. So in 2018, the 33-seater buses, they are selling, or they sold those buses, or the invoice we got was $79,000 in 2018. Yet these same buses are being sold to were sold to MASLOC at $107,000 US. So we are talking about a difference of $28,000 US dollars. And then the government or MASLOC was buying 100 buses. The saloon cars, some were going for $9,000 in 2018, but in 2006, we bought them, or MASLOC bought them for 12,500. The others 14,000 in 2017, because in 2018 they had stopped selling the Chevy Aveo.
Okay.
So in 2017 August, they were selling those cars for 14,000 US dollars. But back in 2016, which should be cheaper, they sold it at $18,000. The other interesting aspect of this contract is we were able to get all the vehicles procured into the country by Mac Ghana Limited, a supplier.
Okay.
Between January 2016 and December 2017, we got all the vehicles and their details. We also got all the vehicles the company paid duty and then cleared from the GRA. So when we decided to search the vehicles, those they supplied to MASLOC, we had their chassis numbers, engine numbers, all the details. We realized that they were not part of the vehicles that were cleared and on which duty was paid. So we suspected the company even sold these vehicles without paying duty. We ran our checks with the GRA and it was confirmed. Further checks revealed that the Ministry of Finance actually gave this company a tax or a duty waiver.
Okay.
But the contract the company signed with MASLOC actually said the company was responsible for paying all the duties and taxes until final delivery. So we lost a number of things in this contract. The duty alone is 10,500,000 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
What has been put, if you're looking at the difference between how much is sold to the public and how much MASLOC bought them, we are looking at 18,300,000 Ghana cedis. We are also looking at the fact that the vehicles are abandoned because those who were supposed to take them have rejected them because of the price. So that's also another issue. We are also looking at the fact that even if these vehicles were bought at a normal price or at a reasonable price, from 2016 till now, they have been abandoned, left in the sun. And when we spoke to a procurement specialist, he told us that, look, these vehicles cannot be sold at the same price that they will be sold if they were at the showroom. So quite a number of things are wrong with this transaction. But the most important thing is that the reason for which we procured them, we could not utilize them, so the vehicles are still there. And finally, there's also a bit of the contract was signed in cedis by this current administration. The NDC signed it by this current administration. When they were doing the negotiation, we realized that the payment or the final negotiation was done in US dollars. And we can confirm that the state has paid so far 13,550,000 US dollars. And the company says, that's Mac Ghana, says there's still some 2 million US dollars more to pay for this transaction.
Wait, so we are paying monies and we will pay the $2 million on these 350 cars that are abandoned?
Yes.
Okay. Whose choice was it to abandon the vehicles? Is it the GPRTU? Because I heard you say then that the GPRTU came to see the vehicles and said they are too expensive and so they can't use them.
For GPRTU, they tell me that, look, it isn't a choice. They have... they need vehicles.
Okay.
They need the vehicles.
Okay.
But what they are saying is that you are giving us these vehicles, and we know that if I go to the showroom today, I'll get them at a very cheaper cost. We are going to work and pay. And mind you, MASLOC is supposed to even put some interest on these vehicles for them because it's going to be high purchase.
So it's too expensive for them.
It's too expensive. There's no way they are going to break even, let alone even make profit. So they said, at this price, we are not going to get it.
Okay.
Take it. And then the biggest flaw for me is that there was no contract whatsoever between GPRTU and a MASLOC. So if you go to
they were not bound to
No. If you go to the
take
National
the
Security
vehicles.
Yard, you find the vehicles painted with a GPRTU funded by MASLOC, but there's no contract. So There's no way you can hold them
Do we
accountable.
know who is behind Mac Ghana?
Mac Ghana is, I think, a foreign company. I think an Egyptian company or so. I've been there a number of times.
Okay.
They are experts.
Okay, they are experts.
Yes.
Do we know who signed the contracts on behalf of government and Mac?
On behalf of government, we have the former CEO of MASLOC, that's Sedina.
Sedina Mationo, who is currently a party in a court case.
Yes, and then that contract was witnessed by Carlos de Souza, and with Mac Ghana we have Raman Manutra. I doubt.
Yeah,
but
of course.
he's a
He
country,
doesn't sound familiar.
country manager.
And it's an Egyptian company.
Yes, and then that one was witnessed by Sharif El Shahid.
Okay.
Yes.
So we just wanted to get the details of that. So Prof Ade is here, and before we go into our main discussion, we want to know if you have a few thoughts on what we just heard.
Well, quite interesting. First of all, let me congratulate those who did it. Since they have done a very professional work going into details. I think that this is what the media must do, not just one's opinion against the other, but getting the facts out. I think that there's no doubt at all that there is something not right with this contract, and we hope that it will be unraveled, and those who have caused financial loss, if there is any to the state, will be made to pay for it. I think that's
Yes.
straightforward.
Okay, so you would call for an investigation and a punishment
Yes.
of these
Definitely. The state cannot just dispense with these monies and have it discounted. No, somebody must be held accountable.
Definitely. No, so Manasseh, there are those who signed the contract. There are also those who negotiated with them and paid the monies. Those are in this government, right?
Yes, from what we hear, they wanted to even explore the option of terminating the contract, but I'm told the Attorney General advised that the contract was signed, the people delivered the goods, so it was going to be difficult to terminate it because you negotiated, you agreed, you let them bring the goods. So in order not to incur unnecessary judgment debt, there was the need to do the negotiation, and then I'm told the office of the chief of staff was even involved in this negotiation between MASLOC and then the company. They agreed on two payment plans. That is one that would end or result in the payment of 13,550,000, and the other one 14,650,000 US dollars. But according to Mac Ghana, they wanted to give a discount, but because the government didn't pay within a specific period, they had to withdraw the discount through a letter. So they have confirmed that the government has paid 13,550,000 US dollars, and if I look at the exchange rate, it's about 66 million Ghana cedis now. So there's still some payment to be made.
Okay.
Is the government paying the full face value?
Yes, that's what the government is paying.
Paid the full face value,
Face
which
value.
was negotiated.
Yes.
That's quite
That's quite a hefty sum.
hefty, with about 20,000 on each of the vehicle, the buses.
Yes.
That's quite
$28,000.
That comes up to about 18 million Ghana cedis.
Yes.
The difference alone.
Yes.
And these guys were waived. I mean, Mac Ghana, they didn't pay
Pay
import
Pay,
duties.
yes. So the cheaper,
Even though they were
yes,
supposed to.
the one they are selling cheaper to the customers, they paid duty, cleared, and it's still cheaper. And we are talking of individual sales. The one they are selling to the government at a very higher cost, they didn't pay duty on those vehicles. They cleared free, and they are selling. And mind you, economists of large scale, government is buying 350
At a go.
at a go.
So you would expect that it costs less.
Cost less. But the main point is, why should we use the taxpayers' money to procure all of this and then they will go waste? The next angle we are looking at is the Ayalolo buses. And Daniel, that one is terrible.
It's mind-boggling, really. But Prof. Ade, the fact that these buses are sitting there doing nothing, that is also another worrying issue, isn't it?
Well, when there's something under investigation, you cannot let it go. But now that if the government is paying for it, then they can start selling it to the people who want to buy it. Because when it's under investigation, you cannot dispose of them. So, but I'm quite surprised because I'm not a lawyer. But if a contract is clearly, as it appears, tainted with corruption, with about the price about 20,000 inflated
Per bus.
Yes, I'm quite surprised that it's being paid at its face value, and the negotiation didn't make any difference. That's quite what's surprising to me.
Yes, they said the negotiation resulted in a reduction of $700,000 or so.
That's
Which
From the total sum.
Yes, but if you look at the final computation as we had here, the two payment options, that didn't even feature. Because if you look at the 14,650,000, and then the first option, which has been paid fully, the $700,000 doesn't even feature. Because if you convert it, what we have paid so far is about $66 million cedis.
and moreover, there's an issue of the fact that we are not hearing anything about the taxes which were not paid, which the company
And the
was
import duties.
Yes.
That I'm still following up on it from the Ghana Revenue Authority. And what they are saying is that a letter was written pending parliamentary approval. Even though the approval was not given, they were asked to go and then clear. And what we are told is that normally the finance ministry gives those approval and later takes them in bulk to parliament to be approved, because the parliament has that responsibility or power to give tax waivers. But as of the time these buses were cleared, it wasn't given, and even after that, the approval wasn't given. So what my sources at the GRA are telling me is that for them to be able to pursue this company and take the money, then the finance ministry would now have to write and then revoke that waiver, because the contract clearly states that the company was supposed to pay the taxes and duties until the point of delivery.
So, Prof, you look at the fact that, first of all, the sums were inflated. You look at the fact that import duties were not paid. And my curiosity is also who approved the waiving of these import duties. Because, Manasseh, we were mentioning that these buses were brought in just before election 2016.
Yes, 2016.
Okay.
So it is the finance
It's
ministry.
the former finance ministry.
Headed by Mr. Setekwe.
So, Prof, you have all of these elements, and there's still the question you raised of our government agreeing to pay these monies in full, and especially knowing that the buses are there rusting, and the buses are still there rusting. I mean, if this was an organization you were head of, what would be the best course of action for you?
Well, I don't think that anybody, not me, anybody will do this in their own private company. And at this moment, I think that the least that can be done is for the Ministry of Finance to revoke the conditional tax waiver, because it was not approved by Parliament. Ask Mark to pay it. But I will still want somebody to pursue the fact why it was 20,000 per bus extra. Somebody knowingly caused financial loss to the country. And I think that somebody must be held accountable.
How about those who have been paying the monies?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that is the contractual ones. I really am quite shocked that it's being paid on the face value without anything being done about the taxes, about the inflated prices. But I don't have the legal power or ability. It sounds to me too fishy. And it's not only part being fishy in the past, but too fishy now.
Right, Professor Stephen Ade there. Manasseh Awuni, thank you very much for joining us. And the full story is on myjoyonline.com. You can go there, the pictures of the buses, the cars, all the insights that you want. Malik is also here, and Malik will give us a few comments, some more insight into the issue.
Well, so
we are in a sorry place, aren't we, Daniel? That every now and then you find very, very useful things that are procured with public funds completely abandoned. And this happens all the time. Go to the Institute of Local Government and see those gallopers. And you remember when those gallopers were bought, they were bought under President Rawlings.
Wow.
And the Kufuor government didn't do anything with them. There was a controversy around the gallopers, and we left them. They've been rotting there since then, till date. Remember when Rawlings was in power? The last time Rawlings was in power was in 2000. Vehicles that were procured then have been left to rot. Gallopers. We spent money to buy brand new gallopers, and we left them to rot.
And this is a series. So there's a Yalolo buses. There's a number of other abandoned. There are, a number of other abandoned vehicles. Mama, like, isn't it curious though that, we are talking about a company that did not pay import duties. We know that usually there are clearing agents that handle this sort of business. So I'm also curious as to which company cleared the vehicles, or did they just clear them themselves? Manasseh, unfortunately, he just stepped out, but we would get that.
No, even the importers themselves have their agents who do the clearing.
Exactly.
And you see, the way we pass our laws, I think our laws, we allow too many loopholes which are exploited by both the executive and businesses. So you pass a law that says, it is only Parliament that can grant tax waivers.
Yes.
But then you have a finance ministry, from what Manasseh is saying, which can actually allow the tax waivers and then compile the tax waivers and take them to Parliament after they've actually been granted the companies to import whatever they are importing. And then they then take them to Parliament for ratification, which means what Parliament is actually doing is just rubber stamping, because the ministry, which does not by law have any power to grant tax waivers, it only has to make a request to Parliament to grant tax waivers. The ministry can actually grant it and then go to Parliament and say, okay, we are asking for tax, when in actual fact, it would have granted the tax waivers already, and the companies would have imported whatever products that they are importing without paying any taxes. So you sign a contract which states clearly that a particular product, duty has to be paid on it.
And this company...
And yet you have the finance ministry, which is permitting, without any justification, this company to not pay duty on a product which the state itself is buying. And you can argue that, well, because the state is buying, the state doesn't want this company to pay a tax which will inflate the cost of the product which the state itself is coming to buy, because the tax is going to go to the state.
The state wasn't buying. The state was only facilitating. The state was state
exactly.
So.
Exactly. So it's not a cost that comes to the state.
Which
there's
is
also the question of process, Malik. There's also a question of process because the state is not buying. The GPRTU is required to know at every stage how much is involved, what is going on into these negotiations, so that the GPRTU is satisfied with the price.
Yeah.
Because this abandoning, it is mainly because the GPRTU says it's too expensive. Yeah. I can't pay and this comes back. Just a quick addition to what Prof. Adair said. Prof, you said that if anyone had his private company,
they will not do that.
Exactly. So the private individuals have come to look at the vehicles and say it's too expensive. And that's the litmus test.
Because
right there.
There is no off-taker agreement, Daniel. There's no off-taker agreement between the end user of this product and the facilitator of the purchase of the product. And it will beat anyone's imagination that a simple thing as that, because once you are going to procure, the end user, you must have a contract with them. Because you ought to know that if you don't have a contract with them, they are not bound to take the product which you are purchasing. And that is exactly what has happened. Because you don't have an agreement and they are not bound, you purchase the product. They didn't take it.
Okay, Prof.
Let's put it in the corruption context of Ghana. I think that there's no doubt at all that the evidence shows, if we take the corruption perception index, that in the recent years, corruption has been very high in Ghana. It has been growing. the latest corruption index has seen a marginal improvement.
Just one drop.
But that still does not tackle the fundamental issue that corruption in Ghana is at a very high level. The second is that I think that, and this is where I congratulate this young man, and sad to say another young man has lost his life for pursuing corruption. It will require a concerted effort of the media, of academia, of civil society, because unless there is that type of concerted action, I don't think that we are going to see a serious dent in the corruption, whoever is in power.
Very chilling words there from Prof. Adair. That would transition us into the next conversation that we're going to have. And if you were curious to know, the company that I was referring to is Band Devoted Services, the company that cleared these vehicles on behalf of Mac Ghana. And it's important to note because import duties were not paid. So there's something that we need to know.
But if they have a waiver, then they don't have to pay.
No, that's the point. That's the point. So who was the waiver granted to? Mac Ghana or Band
In fact,
Devoted Services?
I must say that I've noted it down. This is something I would personally like to take it up with the Ministry of Finance as to the duties. At least, if nothing at all, let's get our duty back, because we cannot export the farmers' cocoa and give it to an Egyptian company.
And we grant duties to too many companies. Too many. Remember that even the Chinese company StarTimes, we granted them some waivers that we won't grant to local companies. But we are always willing to grant these waivers to foreign companies for doing the same thing anyway.
Prof, what do you think is the heart of this penchant that we have? Because, like Malik said, we've seen this repeatedly.
Unfortunately, some of the foreign companies are much more susceptible to paying taxes, paying corrupt money, bribes, sometimes offshore, and the rest. So it's a mark of how easy the officials get access to corrupt money. Is much more easier with foreign companies, I must say, than with Ghanaian companies and Ghanaian individuals.
So it's your view that these people are being bribed? Bribing?
Yes, sure. I mean, for anyone to do such a contract for Ghana, the perception is bribery. As total disregard of national interests.
Prof. Stephen Adair is our guest this morning. We're having breakfast with him. We'll take these important messages, and when we come back, we'll talk about a number of other issues of national importance. But trust me, this morning we are seeing it as it is on the Super Morning Show. Stay with us.